Welcome back, UPSC aspirants and all you history buffs out there. We're diving back into modern Indian history, picking up where we left off in part one.
Yeah, really getting into the nitty-gritty today with, well, not exactly a household name, but trust me, this is fascinating.
Exactly. Today, we're going beyond the biggies like the Government of India Act and exploring something called the Rajagopalachari Formula, or the CR plan.
This is like a what-if scenario, a potential roadmap to freedom that, well, it didn't pan out, but it sparked huge e-debate and really shaped the whole independence conversation.
So before we get lost in the weeds, let's set the scene. It's 1944. World War II is raging, the British Empire is starting to wobble, and India's independence movement is in full swing.
Right, and you have this really interesting figure, C. Rajagopalachari, or CR, as he's often called, a big name in the Congress, known for his pragmatic approach, let's say.
And he was trying to bridge this massive gap between the Congress, who wanted a unified India, and the Muslim League, pushing for a separate Muslim nation.
Exactly, and that's where his formula comes in.
So what did this plan actually entail? What was CR proposing?
Well, there were a few key elements. First, dominion status for India within the British Commonwealth. Think like Canada or Australia's self-governance, but still symbolically tied to the crown.
Interesting. Not a complete break, more like a transition phase. But how did he address the Muslim League's concerns about, being a minority in a unified India?
He proposed provincial autonomy. Provinces would actually get to choose whether they join this dominion or not.
So already we're seeing the seeds of partition being planted, even if not explicitly.
Right. And then, to further address regional anxieties, he added the idea of provinces voluntarily grouping together based on shared language, culture, that sort of thing.
Trying to preempt future conflicts by recognizing regional identities but still maintaining some unity.
Exactly. And he wasn't advocating for a totally fragmented India either. He understood the need for a strong central authority, especially for things like defense and communication.
So it was a balancing act, regional autonomy, with a strong, unified center, ambitious to say the least. And I'm guessing it sparked a ton of debate.
Oh, absolutely. Reactions were all over the place, really highlighting just how divided the Indian political landscape was at the time. So yeah, the CR formula, it was like throwing a match into a powder keg. Reactions were strong, to say the least.
Let's break down those reactions, starting with Jinnah and the Muslim League. They weren't exactly thrilled, were they?
Well, for Jinnah, the CR plan was a non-starter. His whole platform was built on this idea of the two-nation theory, that Hindus and Muslims needed their own separate states.
So anything short of a clear path to Pakistan was a no-go.
Right. He demanded the Congress fully endorse this two-nation theory, which they were obviously never going to do, and he wanted a referendum only in Muslim-majority areas to guarantee a vote for Pakistan.
It's like he was trying to stack the deck in his favor.
Yeah, he wasn't interested in compromise, really. He even rejected the idea of a shared center for things like defense, which, that was pretty radical.
So even the autonomy offered in the CR plan wasn't enough for Jinnah. What about the Congress? How did they receive it?
It's complicated. They were more open to collaboration, to a unified India, but they also had reservations. The idea of provinces opting out, it really worried them.
It's like CR was trying to solve one problem, but potentially creating another.
Yeah, there was this fear of fragmentation, of a weak and divided India. Plus, even within the Congress, there were disagreements. Some, like Nehru, weren't convinced about dominion status, thought it might delay full independence.
So even within the Congress, there were different perspectives. And then you have figures like Veer Savarkar and the Hindu Mahasabha who were completely against the plan.
Oh, yeah. They saw it as a complete surrender to the Muslim League, a betrayal of Hindu interests. For them, any concession was a step towards the disintegration of India.
So you had opposition from all sides, each with their own motivations and anxieties.
Yeah, it was a real mess, politically speaking. CR, he had good intentions, but he was trying to navigate a minefield, essentially. This wasn't just about independence. It was about these very fundamental questions of what India was going to be.
Yeah, and those questions weren't just confined to the political elite, right? These debates were happening all across Indian society.
Absolutely. People were talking about it everywhere, in newspapers and public speeches. Everyone was grappling with the implications of what this plan could mean for their future.
It really captures just how complex and multifaceted this whole struggle for independence was. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time unpacking the CR formula, all its details and the reactions it got. But looking back, what's its lasting legacy? How does something from 1944 still resonate with us today?
Well, the CR formula, even though it didn't actually bridge the divide between the Congress and the League, it does offer valuable lessons, things we can still learn from today.
Feels like what?
It shows us just how complex building a nation is, how you have to try and balance all these different aspirations, these anxieties.
Right. Even though it didn't prevent partition, the whole focus on provincial autonomy, on addressing those regional concerns, that's still relevant.
Oh, yeah, totally. Even today, India is still figuring out how to manage its diversity, making sure everyone, every region, feels represented.
It's like we can see echoes of those debates from back then in the discussions happening today.
Exactly. And beyond the structure, the actual content of the plan, there's also the approach CR took, his emphasis on dialogue, on negotiation, even when things seemed impossible.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like he was saying, hey, even if we disagree, let's at least talk to each other, try to find some common ground.
Right. And in a democracy like India, that's so important. Finding solutions that work for everyone, it's not easy, but it's crucial.
It's a reminder that compromise isn't weakness. Sometimes it's the only way forward. CR's legacy, it's bigger than just this one plan.
Absolutely. His willingness to think differently, to challenge the status quo, that's something anyone can learn from, especially those aspiring to be leaders.
I bet our UPSC listeners are taking notes. It's not just the facts. It's about understanding the bigger picture, the principles at play.
Right. The CR formula, it's a case study in how to deal with, how to navigate complex situations, politically speaking.
So as we wrap up, what's the key takeaway here for everyone listening?
I think it's that the CR formula, even though it didn't succeed in the way CR intended, it had a huge impact on India's journey to independence. It really shows the challenges of building a nation, the importance of talking to each other, and the power of leaders who try to do things differently.
It also shows that history isn't just dates and events, it's ideas, it's choices. It's about the people who dared to imagine a different future. Whether you're preparing for the UPSC or just interested in India's past, the CR formula is a fascinating story, and there's a lot we can still learn from it.
Yeah, for sure. And as you learn about these events, keep questioning, keep challenging what you hear, try to see things from different perspectives. That's how we really get something out of history, how we can use it to understand the present and even the future.
I love that. Well, on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Rajagopalachari Formula. We hope you found it insightful and maybe even sparked some new ideas. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world of history and ideas.